New York Reserve. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm now pleased to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, a veteran of the Afghanistan war, Mr. Waltz.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for me as well, this is a very personal endeavor and a very personal bill. And speaking as a combat veteran of the Afghan war, the Afghans supporting our troops weren't just interpreters. They became our brothers and our sisters on the battlefield. We depended on each other for survival. And they fought with us, they bled with us, and in many cases, they died with us. All for the dream of a better Afghanistan, for a safer world, for prosperity for their families, and for ripping out the dangerous and sick extremist ideology that's tormented their country, taken their society backward, and threatened the United States of America. Unfortunately, the Biden administration's reckless withdrawal is allowing the Taliban to once again seize control of Afghanistan. And the urgency of the situation on the ground is not hyperbole. Just yesterday, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said the Taliban appear to have strategic momentum in their offensive. And I hope that this Congress can continue supporting the Afghan security forces to help them halt that advance, and in the wake of it, al-Qaeda and ISIS's inevitable rise. No one is safe from the Taliban reprisal. We've seen in recent weeks the mass execution of surrendering Afghan security forces and the Afghan interpreters who worked with our troops to stop, that are now at the top of the Taliban's target list. The United States made a commitment to our allies in this conflict, and these individuals have lived up to their end of the bargain. Now we have an obligation to honor our promises to them. According to the State Department, the average processing time for an SIV applicant is over 700 days, and this is unacceptable given this urgency. I want to be clear. The legislation before us, which I strongly support, does not diminish or circumvent the screening process. Trust me, before these men and women were allowed to work with our units, they were heavily vetted, and that's before this 700-day process that they're now going through. I support increasing the number of the special immigrant visas by 8,000. I support streamlining this process, and if it comes to it, I support taking care of the families of those who didn't make it back, like one of my interpreters who we called Spartacus, who was found with American documentation on him, taken back to his village, and beheaded along with members of his family to send a message. It is notable, Mr. Speaker, that in 1975, then Senator Biden did not support the evacuation of our South Vietnamese allies. I hope now President Biden will erase that sin. It's not just a moral obligation, it is a national security obligation, because when our soldiers have to go back to deal with a rising al-Qaeda, which I sadly predict they will have to, we will need local allies once again. We are sending a message right now by our conduct. I strongly urge my colleagues to support this critical legislation and ask the Senate to swiftly pass it.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from California reserves. Gentleman from